Hey, welcome to the Small Business Made Simple podcast, brought to you by socialmediaandmarketing.com.au. Being in business is never easy, but it can be simple, or at least simpler. Join me, your host Jen Donovan, every week where we focus on marketing, social media, and working towards simplifying your business. You with me? Let's do this.
If you're gonna dream it big, 'cause someone out there listening. Everyone's got a voice to give, and it's time I heard you whistling, 'cause there's no point at all, in dreaming small.
Why, hey there, my amazing listener. Welcome and thank you for tuning in to episode 294 of the Small Business Made Simple podcast. I am so pleased that you've chosen this time for you that suits you to listen into the podcast. I know there's lots of things that you can be doing at the moment, and I really do appreciate you tuning in to me. Did you get a chance to listen to last week's episode? It was all about systems and processes. Definitely something that I admitted often that I need to up my game. And in fact, Dave has definitely lit a bit of a fire underneath my belly around systems and processes, just sort of looking at what my goals are for 2025 for the business and how I need some better systems in place if I'm really going to go and achieve those big goals in the next 12 to 18 months, I guess. So I hope that you got a chance to listen to that. If you didn't, when you finish here today, jump back and have a listen to that. Now, before we get into today's episode, I just wanted to talk to you about some ways that I can help you in business, because we are all business owners, and I know you're a bit of a go-getter because you're listening to a business podcast. So I would love, other than being in your ears and sharing amazing knowledge from myself and my guests, I'd love to think there's some other ways that we could maybe work together. So on my website, there's an hour of power available where you can pick my brain for like an hour with whatever is holding you back in business, whatever it is in your marketing that you've got some sticky problems. Book an hour of power. You can upgrade then to some one-to-one coaching, which is where we really get where we really get stuck into your business and get some stuff done. Like, what's holding you back, that accountability, the movement that you need. I know for myself, always having a coach has managed to get me where I am today, and I'm very much an advocate for a mentor and a coach. If that's not quite for you, there's my 9-week marketing transformation program, which pretty much has everything I know about marketing in a 9-week program. It's self-paced, but you do get to, ask me any questions at any time, as well as book a couple of calls through that transformation program. So it's not all, left to your devices, but you can come and get some information from me, and we can have a chat about different modules that you might need some more explanation around. Of course, there is an audit available if you need someone to run over your marketing. Maybe you need a good marketing eye, which is me, to have a look at what your marketing looks like right now, what your strategy looks like right now. And I can do an audit of all that and, give you some tips and tricks on where the 1%ers are that you could improve on, or where you could definitely improve your strategy. Of course, then there's my book, Small Town Big Impact. Again, it's pretty much got everything I know about marketing in it. And of course, now my brand new launch thing is my retreat, my LinkedIn retreat. So if LinkedIn is one of those things that you're like, Jen, I need to get better at LinkedIn because my audience is there and I've spent so much time on Facebook and Instagram, I really don't know how to use LinkedIn. Well, Jules and I are running a LinkedIn retreat in Dalesford in August, and all of that information, of course, is on my website at socialmediaandmarketing.com.au, or you know where to find me on socials or email. Get in touch if there's anything I can do to help you. Like I said, you're a bit of an action taker because you're listening to a podcast about marketing, so I would love to know how else I could help you. But moving on to today's today's episode. That's the word I'm looking for inside my ant brain. I have another great guest for you today. Her name is Tamara Simon, and Tamara and I have actually been in each other's worlds for a very long time. And we literally keep running into each other through different programs and through different coaching programs and all sorts of things like that. So I'm absolutely delighted that she's on my podcast today. Tamara is a great guest to have on, as she's all about making things simpler, which, of course, you're listening to Small Business Made Simple podcast. You know that that is going to be music to my ears. She likes to provide her audiences and her clients with simple solutions to sometimes quite complex problems that we have in business. The conversation is a great one as we go through like 5 foundational bricks every business owner needs in their business. So get your paper ready, and here's my chat with Tamara. Tamara, I'm excited to have you on the podcast today. Thank you. Finally, we get to have a chat on the podcast.
I know. It's sort of been a long time in the making, I think. But thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you. Tamara, we have known each other. I don't actually know how many years, but it'd have to be pushing 10, wouldn't it? Like, it'd have to be up there that we've known each other in different circles and different businesses. So I'm excited for you to have a bit of a chat to my audience about what it is that you can do and what about, your experiences and that sort of thing as far as small business goes. But look, for my amazing listener who may not have come across Tamara Simon or would just like to know more, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Thanks so much, Shen. Yeah, look, it has been a while. I reckon it's nearly 10 years, just in different circles. So how it's taken this long, but that's okay. Look, I'm a small business speaker, author and coach. I've had my business for over 20 years now, and that's a little bit scary. And it's gone through many machinations. I always say my business journey is like the board game Snakes and Ladders, and I've certainly gone up and down and sideways and around and rebadged and everything else. But look, pretty much I'm the problem solver for small businesses. So my mission is to help small business owners build a simple, profitable business they actually love. Because so many make this wonderful, brave, courageous decision that you and I have also made, but it doesn't always work out, the lifestyle and the financial reward and all that other stuff. And to me, if you don't love your business 80% of every single day, not it's not
Yeah,
perfect.
we can't love it all the time.
We can't love it all the time, but we got to try and get at least 80%. But if we're not doing that, we might as well, I believe, just go and get that job. So I see so many small business owners struggling, certainly like I did when I first started out. So I want to help them find out what's working, what's wrong, and using my brick philosophy around my book, help them repair those cracks, help them find the missing bricks out there, and help them look to renovate their businesses so that they can continue in a profitable way versus having what I call at times that expensive hobby.
Yes. And of course, for my listener, you've used the magic word on the Magic Podcast, which is simple. Like, this podcast is Small Business Made Simple. This is what I'm all about, because business, it's not easy, but it definitely should be simple or a little bit simpler. So I'm excited to get you on and chat about that. Now, you kind of just brushed over before the fact that, there's a book and you talk about bricks and things like that. So we are going to talk about like the 5 foundational bricks that every small business owner needs to consider and need in order for growth, I think, is where we are heading here. But we'll take that back a little bit. Tell us a little bit about your book and the analogy that you use within the book so that we can talk about these foundations.
No worries. So, look, I never thought I would write a book. I'm the speaker, but I knew that, everyone kept saying to me, if you're a speaker, you need a book, write a book. And I go, oh, rightio. But my view was always that I needed to write what I believed was a good book that would help people, firstly. And secondly, if I only wrote one, that was the philosophy. I mean, there's lots of other book ideas, just like you've got them as well, Jen, but let's just write one and see how that lands as part of it. So it took me a long time to really decide what the book was going to be about, because my experience has been really diverse, and do I write something about managing teams or systems, and none of that really lit me up. And then many years ago, I did a webinar called the Three Little Pigs. Because I'm very much about metaphors when I do my speaking and things like that. I need a really good analogy. And I just talked about that's how I believe we build our businesses, just like the fairy tale, from straw to stick to brick. We hope that we start something and, and then it doesn't quite work. So we tweak it again, and then we move, and hopefully we've got this great brick business that's solid and fantastic foundations and profitable and all those things. And once I did that webinar, and I'd also presented at a conference, I went, I think there's something here, and so then I delved down the pathway, who are the wolves in our business, both ourselves, externally, our team, all of those type of things. So I just sort of started exploring that a little bit more. And as a result, wrote the book, The 5 Little Business Pigs, because, we do build from straw to stick to brick. But in my research and in talking to business owners, I found 2 other business pigs, the Reno and the Rundown. And the poor little Rundown is the very sad picture, in the book. And not only the owner being run down, but the actual business. And unfortunately, probably like yourself, Jen, in marketing, I see too many of those. I see too many owners that are burnt out and run down and just feel chained to their business. And their business really hasn't changed too much, often because they just don't know what to do next, because there's just so much coming at us, particularly in terms of marketing. And so that's really how the book was born. And, it talks about all those 5 businesses, and then it actually has a 6th one as well, because that's the Mad Business Pig, which is all about making a difference, because I'm very much driven by service, just like you are. So there's another one as well. And then, it goes through my framework, which has 5 steps to get clear on your business, people and systems, because you need all 3. And then I've written the book in the way that, people sort of, and have given me feedback that they've read the first few chapters and go, oh my God, I'm at stick, or whatever it might be, and they're all a little bit. So the book talks about, okay, well, let's give you a framework. Let's work out the mistakes of why you might be where you are, and give you some strategies. And then it's about the last bit of the chapters of, okay, if you're at straw, here's the steps you need to get to stick. Because like you said, you just need the next bits. We want to make it simple for people, and we don't want to overwhelm them when they're already, more than likely overwhelmed and frustrated anyway. So it goes through all of those strategies as well of, it's okay, we can get, and if you run down, we can get you back. So there's a bit of hope there. So
Oh, that's so good. So good. Mind you, I did cut my teeth on one of those businesses that was run down with the rundown business owner. They make occasionally, no business advice given on this podcast, but sometimes they make really good purchases, because that's definitely the business that I bought. Was probably I don't know what pig it is. It's the pig before the straw, the rundown pig that just is just so exhausted. It's like, take my business. I need to go somewhere and have a life. So sometimes they make good purchases, those businesses, but that's beside the point. We don't want to be there, and my listener most certainly doesn't want to be there. So can you run us through the 5 foundation? What's the first sort of foundation brick that you talk about?
Yeah, so what I found has been really interesting in this is, regardless of what business you've got, whether it's straw, stick, brick, Reno, rundown, doesn't matter, I found there was actually 5 foundation bricks that every business actually has to have. And those bricks, the first one of those is about embracing your role. Because what, and I've included in a chapter, is that for many people, I don't know about you, Jen, but I was never the entrepreneur. I didn't have the business, at school and all those type of things. I fell into this, opportunity came up, and overnight, I'm a consultant, I'm a business owner sort of thing, but when we look at other people's stories, sometimes there are those that have always known this is what they've wanted to do. There's people that have maybe sat there and looked at the boss and gone, oh, I can do this better than you. So they leave and, set up their business. And there's all these different ways that we become a business owner. But I think what I find is that as an owner, we have to actually start embracing that role and everything that goes with it versus just the things we love to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, your listener might be familiar with the book, The E-Myth by Michael Gerber, where he talks about systems and different things like that. And in that, he talks about that for most small business owners, they are what we call great technicians, really good at something. So really good at marketing, or really good at websites, or really good at being an accountant, whatever it is. And so they become the business owner. But they're not so good, or maybe haven't had experience with sales, marketing, finance, managing a team, and everything else that goes with running a business. And so that's one of the biggest challenges I find when I'm talking to audiences and then doing coaching one-on-one is, have you actually stepped up and embraced your role? Because this gig isn't for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
There are certainly some owners out there that actually need, and possibly like the business that you bought, Jen, just go, this isn't for me. And there's nothing wrong with that. Where I think that gets into trouble, though, is if we just keep, plowing our time and money into something that is just never going to change, because we think the more time we do this, the better it's going to be. And that's not necessarily the case. So,
Mm-hmm.
I believe we've got to embrace our role and recognize what I call the reluctant business owner is in most of us. It's certainly in me. Right. so and you hear those phrases, of like, oh, I don't need to write anything down because it's just me here. Or,
Yes.
I don't need to know about my numbers because I've got an accountant and a bookkeeper. Well, yeah, you do. I don't need to, I'm too busy to do all of those things,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
so.
And I think it is like exactly what you said. They've got a skill. So they're a really good solicitor, and then they
Yeah.
buy into a business, or they start a practice, or they're a really good hairdresser, and then they
Yes.
get that entrepreneurial kick one night and decide to go out on their own. But being really good at your skill doesn't make you necessarily equipped, or perhaps know what you're in for as the business owner, because as we both know, and my listener is well aware, the buck stops with you.
Yep.
I was just talking to one of my best friends last night who runs a series of pharmacists, and she asked me how business is going, and I'm like, well, it's going as good as I make it, because if I don't work, the business
Yep.
doesn't move. Like, it's as
Me
easy
too.
as that.
Yeah.
And not everyone's business model is that, of course, but mine is. So yes,
Yeah.
embracing that. That's a fantastic point. What's the second brick?
The second brick is about focusing your time. And we all know this, right? And it is this simple thing, but we have this, people say to me, and I'm sure they probably say to you, Jen, as well, in terms of marketing, I just wish I had more time. And we all go, well, we can't, find it because it's not lost. We actually have to create some space to then focus our time, and, people that I talk to, I know that I talk to, are very much about, I don't have time. I go, so you need to stop. I don't have time to do that. And so generally I'll then bring out the Dr. Phil of, how's that working for you? And it's not.
Yeah.
Right? It's
Mhm.
just not. And that's really hard for us because we think, oh, I've just got to keep going. But if we're doing the wrong things, if we're spending too much time on those tasks in our business, which I absolutely get, because when you're the business owner, you've got to bring in the cash and do the work and all that sort of stuff. If you don't have, a tribe of lots of people to help you, I get that the buck stops with you, just like it does with me. But if we're also not looking and working on our business, as they say, if we're not trying to build our community and get better connections and develop our business, if we don't allow any time for that, we are stumbling and struggling and wondering why the business isn't where it should be, because we're not focusing on time on what's really important, even just for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
As part of that. So we have to stop and look at what we're actually doing. And, hopefully your day doesn't start with email, because, if it does, as your listener, please stop doing that, because that doesn't work. right?
Boy, that's the way my day starts though.
No, that's when you go down the rabbit hole and then you go, oh my God, it's 11 o'clock.
Hmm.
Like,
Yes, if you haven't read your emails in a while, for sure, for sure.
yeah,
Those two things, like even the first two bricks, they're quite related. Like both
they
of them have systems and processes, don't they?
are.
To make life easier, to help with your time. Like a system or a process potentially is going to help you with that. So is the third one kind of related as well?
Well, they all interchangeable and they all impact on each other. And it's funny that you say about systems because that's one of my superpowers, and I believe there's a system in everything. You just have to find it,
Mhm.
right? And so that third brick is about designing your systems. How do you get the knowledge out of your head into simple procedures, simple templates, simple scripts, all of those things? Because if you don't, not only is that just going to overwhelm you for starters, but there's no way you can get help. And that to me is what that comes down to. But even if we flip it and think about your customer wants a repeatable and consistent experience with you. And
Mm,
systems are the way to do that.
yeah.
Right? But we've just spoken about time. If we don't have a system for even a general email when someone does an inquiry to you, oh, hang on, I'll just go and find that email now. When did I send the last one? Oh, that was about 3 weeks ago. I think to that person. And
Are you inside my computer? What
that's
are you
right.
doing? Giving away my bad secrets of, oh, when did I send my last one of those?
That's right. And look, we all do it. I've done as well and still got it, right? But that's, where our time gets lost because we don't set our time aside to build our foundation bricks because we think we don't, oh, I'll do that when I'm not so busy. Well, when's that?
Yeah, so
So
true.
we
So
have
true.
to interrupt it, and we have to understand that our brain thinks differently about systems. So we need to make sure that we're actually putting time aside to document those things really easily, or talk them out on your phone, which is what I tell a lot of people. Talk them out on your phone and then send it to someone or give it to a staff member to type up to save you as the owner doing that.
Mhm.
There's lots of simple ways we can
Well, and
capture
now
that.
there's AI that can do all that,
Ah,
isn't there? Transcription services, Otter.io or
yeah,
ChatGPT or lots of different things. Yeah, that can do that system, which is, yeah, really interesting.
yeah.
Number 4.
Number 4. So this is about guiding your people. And look, ages ago, my terminology was probably about managing your people, but it is
Mm.
about guiding, right? And it's been a deliberate change in language because I believe that every owner should be the coach of their business. I love my sport, so that's probably where it comes from and why I call myself a coach versus a mentor or something like that,
Mhm.
because I believe that you need to be the coach of the business. You need to be the cheerleader. You need to provide the strategy. You need to provide your team the steps to actually do all their roles and all of those type of things. But this is the interesting thing, Jen, is that often I'm called into businesses to fix a problem child. So can you just go in and sort them out for me?
Mm.
And if that's how I get into a business, well, that's fine, right? But I know
Yeah.
that at least 80% of the issue is going to be because the systems are not there, or they're there but they're not working, or they're not simple enough and things like that. So there hasn't been clarity about what the person's got to do anyway, and expectation. And so we've got to deal with that first and help people through change management, because that's all it's about,
Mm.
right?
Yeah, yeah, that's so interesting. Like, people will come to me and, my marketing's not working, but I can almost guarantee them that they've got the same problem that 90% of everyone else has, and that is they don't understand their ideal client. And if we can
Correct.
get that clarification, but it's not sexy. Like, I need to solve
No.
the problem that they think they've got in order to help them see the problem that is really happening inside their business and why their marketing isn't working. So, yeah, that's a really interesting thing that it carries across lots of different industries in lots of different areas, that they don't actually understand what their problem is, and that's okay. That's the job of the mentor or the coach.
But that's exactly right, but I find it so fascinating when an owner will talk to me about their staff and how much time they're taking up and all of it. And I go, do you not get that as soon as you have a staff member, that's at least 50% of every single day? That actually is the job now. What do you mean, Tamara? I said, because you're there to guide them. You are there to actually induct them, not just, oh, here's the kitchen, here's the toilets, here's your computer, off you go, which is most inductions in businesses,
Mm.
right? But give them the tools, which is, you know, the handbooks and all of the training and everything that goes with it, because otherwise, how do you expect them to succeed? How?
Yeah. Yeah. So interesting. So interesting. Number 5.
So number 5, the brick is about building your business. So if you like, this is really about, you know, your strategy and all of those sort of high level things, but how are you developing your business? And exactly your point you've just said, Jen, is who is your ideal client? Because it's not everyone. As much as we want to help everyone, it's not, you know. So how, you know, what data have you got? How are you building your community? How are you nurturing your community in your database? Is it a newsletter? Is it something else? Are you only marketing when you're not busy and then it's panic mode versus all the time, so that people go, oh, now I'm ready for you, you know, because I'm sure, like you and like me, you know, we come across people and they're just not ready for us, and that's okay.
Yeah,
But
yeah. I ran a email marketing mastermind last September, and 4 of the people I hadn't worked with for nearly 8 years, but they'd
yeah,
been on my email list, just
that's
sitting
right.
there waiting for the right offer to come out, and
That's right.
boom, here they all
Yep,
came. Which
that's
was,
right.
again, we know that sort of thing happens, and we know nurturing is important, but it kind of is a bit of a shock when it happens. You're like, oh, okay, all right, it does
That's right.
work.
It's
Let's move
finally
on.
working, you know, all of that sort of stuff. But that's all that customer, you know, and deciding what content you're writing and all of those type of things, is all those little bricks, you know, all the different rooms that you need in your house, you know, the marketing room and the sales room and the HR room and the finance room and all that stuff. That's the business you've got to build, both internally and externally, you know,
Yeah.
so that, you know, when you're driving down the street, you know, there's all these different houses that you see. You see the rundown house, you see the, you know, the best house in the street, you see the one that's being renovated at the moment, you see the one that needs some repairs, you know, you see the one that I call probably that reluctant one. Looks good on the outside, but nothing much has really changed. And what's really going on inside, you know, and that's where the owner will go, how's business? Oh, fine, or busy. Yeah, not the answers, you know, so it's a warning trigger immediately. Right? Oh, okay, let's
Yeah.
just dig a little bit deeper,
Yeah.
because they're not necessarily the words that describe. You know, that's the mask that we wear. It's fine. I'm busy. It's good. And inside they're going, oh my God, you know, it's
Yeah.
not pretty.
Yeah, but that's a really interesting point that you bring up, because we, as small business owners, we could be a little bit proud to ask for help. You know, we feel like no one else is failing at the rate we are, or everyone else is outgrowing us, or all these internal chats that are probably not true at all. But can
Yeah.
you give us, maybe, do you have any tips on how people can reach out? Like, how do they overcome that? I don't want to show anyone my finances. I don't want to show anyone the inside of my business, but I know that I should, to get help.
So I believe the best gift we can give ourselves and the best gift we can give our team when we have them is that asking for help is not weakness. It's the best thing that you can do, because someone's been before me. I want to learn from that person. I don't want to spend time making mistakes, right? I value wisdom, you know, and it's an interesting thing because particularly when dollars are tight, I think us owners look at price and we don't look at wisdom and what experience brings,
Mm.
you
That's
know.
such an interesting way to look at it. There's a quote that I didn't make up, but I've kind of, stolen it for myself, that is around, small business is a self-development course you never seen coming. Like, it
Yeah,
really, like the things you
absolutely.
learn as a small
Yeah,
business owner, and the things you have to do, and you're like, Wow, I just thought that, I could just run a hairdressing salon or a legal business, or
Yeah,
I just wanted to be, an accountant.
yeah. Design
It's this.
websites or whatever. Yep.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. This sneaky little self-development course that just we are on that we didn't see coming. And I think that's a perfect example of, the self-development that needs to happen is understanding that asking for help is not a weakness, but actually can be one of your best attributes as a small business owner.
Absolutely. I mean, even when we think about our business, we get the expertise generally in an accountant and bookkeeper. So if we're valuing that, why are we not valuing other things? I believe you can never be good at everything, and nor should you, right? And you'll never know everything, right? So
Mm.
my strengths are not in marketing and sales and that. So that's where we all need to recognize what's the stuff that I'm really good at. Where's my sweet spot of the work that I love to do and I'm really good at it? And that's what I love bringing out in owners and say, okay, we might be able to get there yet that we can drop all that other stuff, but we can eventually put a pathway there because that's what we should be doing as owners. 80% of the time, doing the work we love that we're really good at. And for some people, that
Mm.
is sales, right? They are the best salespeople for their business. But for others, they're not.
Yeah. Yeah,
Some people love the
absolutely.
numbers, some people don't,
Mm.
all of those things. But that's what we've got to aim for. And if we
Yeah.
haven't got it, how are you getting that help in expertise, in books, in networking groups, in all of those things and learning from people? Because I don't like wasting time. And I've done too much of that in my business, going, oh,
Yeah.
finding I had done that a different way or, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, so many interesting points, Tamara. This has been a great chat. I think my listener will be perhaps having to listen to this again with a bit of a notepad and really reflecting, I guess, where they are in their business journey. I know that I have been reflecting as you've been talking as well. Thank you so much for coming on and having a chat with us today. If my listener wants to get in contact or, wants to buy your book or whatever, where's the best place for them to get in touch with you?
So the best place is my website, so tamarasimon.com.au. They can book a Let's Fix It chat. You can get the first 3 chapters of the book. You can download that for free to see if it's for you or not. And also I'm on LinkedIn and Facebook, and I do my daily post there. So that would be the best places.
Beautiful. I will have the links to all those in the show notes. But otherwise, thank you again for giving up your time for us today. It's been a great chat.
Thanks so much. And I apologize, there's homework, but that's usually what happens. There's usually, oh, damn, I got to do that. But just, so hopefully your listener is not too frustrated with maybe too many notes or too much homework as part of that. And hopefully they found that beneficial.
No, of course they would. Of course they would. Yeah, no, it was a great, yeah, some really great pearls of wisdom in there. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks, Jen.
So I just wanted to summarize those foundational bricks for you again that Tamara was just talking about. I should have got her to summarize them, but I forgot. So I thought I would do it here. So there was embrace your role, focus on your time, design your systems, guide your people, and build your business. So after listening to Tamara, which one is your sticking point, do you think, in business? Which one resonated with you the most? Now, admittedly, given last week's guest, Dave from Systemology, for me, it's foundation brick number 3. I need to design my systems. Like I said at the start, if I want to reach those 2025 goals, then hey, I need some systems behind me. So that was what it is for me. What did you take away from today's chat with Tamara? I'd love to know. You can send me an email, jump into a DM, come and join Like Minded Business Owners Facebook group and let me know in there. Or if you're already a member, start a post and say, Jen, this is what I learned from my chat with Tamara. Of course, Tamara's links are in the show notes at socialmediaandmarketing.com.au/294. And that's it. That's it for this week's episode. If you loved it, found it valuable, please reach out to Tamara and say, thank you so much for providing so much value on Jen's podcast, or leave me a rating and review. go to Google, leave me a Google review, go to where you're listening to this podcast and leave a rating and review if that is possible. Or you might like to up-level it and share this episode with a friend, or share it on your social media that you've been listening. They're the sorts of things that I so appreciate for making free content week after week after week. It's a lot to make this podcast every week. So I so appreciate it when my listener lets me know that they're listening. Otherwise, I'm going to see you next week for episode 295. My ant brain is spinning at the moment with 5 episodes to go until we reach the 300. What am I going to do for episode 300? I don't know. If you've got any suggestions, please feel free to reach out and let me know who else has done, lots of episode and has celebrated well. I'd love to know what you know. Of course, if we're not hanging out on social, come and find me on social media. You can find me on just about any platform under Jen Donovan. But whatever you do, remember, my small business peep, as my opening song says, there is no point in dreaming small.
No time like the present. Tell it like you feel it, say it proud, be true, and let us see you for the star that you are. No point in dreaming small.
I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land, the Yorta Yorta people, on which I record this podcast and conduct my business today, and pay my respects to their elders, past and present. I extend this respect to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here with us today as well.